Heidi, hi.
We made it. We made it. My
Yeah,
goodness
I
me.
think this is a fantastic start to the year, guys. 9 minutes late to a 45-minute show we have to do once a week. That's not ideal, really, is it? Oh God! Thank God we've got the best fans.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
Right. Well, we better just check whether we've gone live.
Do we have any fans?
Yes, it looks like we are live. And greetings, everybody. Very happy New Year to everybody. Welcome to 2024. I think 24 is going to be good. I was a bit uncomfortable with 23. Apart from anything else, it's a prime number. And it was a funny old time, wasn't it?
Oh, did you work that out? All in your little
you can't divide
brain.
anything into it. So, you know.
Yeah, it won't take long to work it out.
That's pretty prime.
Yeah. I can't remember how I felt coming into 23. I think looking this time last year, myself and Elaine do this thing where we write on a card things that we hope for the next year, things that we hope we'll achieve, or family stuff and work stuff and that kind of stuff. You write down 3 or 4 wishes that you hope to get done, and then you look at it. Like when you take down the Christmas decorations, the card is always there, and you open it up. It's really interesting. But this time last year, I got the sense of myself that I was not looking for. I was looking forward to a very busy year. A lot of things were changing and in flux, business-wise, and I thought, I feel much calmer. I feel much more positive about 24. Are you guys not feeling very positive about 24? How are you feeling?
Oh, sorry, Nick.
We've.
No, he's just going.
That always works.
Yeah. Nothing's coming out of your mouth.
Yeah, no, I'm really positive. We've got lots going on. I was thinking we should maybe just do a review of your Christmas and New Year's, and then maybe we can just go through each month and just see if there's anything on the horizon. It might be quite nice.
Oh yeah, have you got your Zoom recording on, Bren? I know you're in a rush. Yeah, all right, cool.
No, I'm on it. Don't make noises like that. Not round in Yorkshire.
Record on my phone as well. Awesome. Okay, cool. So guys, we are Raw Pet Medics. You'll find us on patreon.com/Raw Pet Medics, where all the fun and frolics take place. So that is great. If you can help us out, we do appreciate it. But as you know, at this stage, we will be here nonetheless. I have been working away at looking at all our old videos, guys. We have got many videos, so much content, and we were all discussing how we're going to put it all in one place soon, and we'll tell you all about that in due course. But as Nick was saying there, Bren, how did you get on over Christmas? What exciting things did you get up to? Have you anything to report, or do you want to go on to the next person?
I am moving house. Hence, I'm in a random room.
What?
A random room in a new house?
Back into the old house, but it's all got the air source heat pump in. We're super warm and cozy. It's chugging away on its own little thing. No gas, no petrochemicals anymore.
No fireplace.
Using that. We do have a fireplace, but it's not a gas fire. It is solid fuel from the little bit of woodland that we've got, as
nice.
So that'll be just if we need to top up, but we just haven't needed to top up, so it's been really pleasant. So can't wait for the solar to come on and just to sort out some battery backup, and then we'll be sort of able to go semi off grid at points. So that's all good.
Good.
But it's been quite busy outside of that. It's been just feeling like getting things sorted, and then bang, straight back into work this morning, and got a new starter, which is great news. He's really enthusiastic about holistic medicine. We've expanding the practice, so we've got a lot of things to kick off this year. So we're really looking forward to just how we push forward. So that's really enjoyable, and then just so much to look forward to with what we've got planned. As you say, not just with the website, but the future projects that we've got, let alone the stuff with the Health Sensei side, just bringing in some more to everybody from the human side as well as the animals. So it's just action packed. 2024 is going to be a blast.
Action packed. Bren, just lay it out for me. I've got a vague feeling of what you and Rowan are doing with the Health Sensei, and it sounds very exciting. Can you just lay it out in words of one syllable?
not quite one syllable, but
Well,
certainly it is
best,
looking
the
at
best.
health up and down the leash. So, very much the influence that we have on our pets and our pets have on us, but actually looking at all of our lifestyles. So what we do in our lifestyles, how that affects our pets. So that could be the environment you have around you, what you're doing with all of your dietary habits through to your social habits, as far as how you're getting up in the morning, how much sleep you're getting, what your patterns of the day are like, all the way through to just, are you giving yourself space at night, shutting all your Wi-Fi off, getting all of the EMF out, all of that side of things, to then also looking at, stop guessing, start testing, do this thing where you can test how good are those supplements that you're taking. Are you literally taking them on a fear basis, or are you actually getting a benefit out of them? And this is what we can do with our pets too. So there's lots of great information out there. Some people will be doing some of the metabolomics testing through Dutch test. We've got the cellular health test, things like that to go for. And we're looking at that transference into our canines as well. I've got a meeting with the guys from Precision Analytical, which do the Dutch test, and just really getting the stuff off the ground for the dogs.
How do people do these tests? Because you think about your local GP, and it's they never would have heard of any of this. And so tell us about the Dutch test. Is this an order to your home, spit in the tube type test, or is it you use the local nurse and take some blood?
So there is some of the tests that are available through saliva testing. However, the most comprehensive hormone metabolites testing that is in there is a dried urine, hence Dutch, dried urine test for complete hormones. Okay. And that looks at you urinating onto a piece of blotting paper 4 times through the day. Just spreads it out. You need to, so for females, you need to be at a specific time of your cycle. And you need to be in that window. You need to be off hormone replacements and things like that, preferably, but we're not going to pull the rug for the sake of it. So we're looking at, so you can get them to urinate on that, looks at the metabolites of those hormones. That can be really influential on everything from just your glucose tolerance all the way through to your influence on cancer, for how you're metabolizing some of those, because you can switch genes off with your microbiome to how methylated they are, as to how your body then metabolizes certain hormones, and that influence on cancer. So it's actually, it's not a done thing. Yes, you might have the genes that, if they're not methylated, predispose you to certain cancers. But
what does methylated mean for everybody?
So methylating, so if you add a CH3, so a carbon and 3 hydrogens, that's a methyl group. So you methylate a gene that activates it effectively.
And where do we get these methyls from?
So you can get them from many of your vitamins, so methyl, vitamin B12, so you can get that methylated. Some people will methylate amino acids, so you can get trimethylglycine. So all of those will pass on the methyl groups to genes, so you can actually start to increase methylation. There's just 2 options that are in there. So there's
it's normally
many
found in
ways.
Food. These. I'm sorry for asking the questions, but these are questions people are definitely going to have. Are a lot of these compounds sound like things I buy? Is this not a normal part of the food process?
Oh, no. So if you've got the right microbiome and it's activated with the right foods, then of course it will produce the active vitamins that it produces, the active amino acids, the things that are key to good nutrition, should be presented to your body in a methyl group form. So realistically, if you got everything right and you don't transgress and go out on the rip and get pie skied, and all the rest of it on a New Year's Eve, or you are occasionally smoking, or you are eating the occasional bit of junk food, those things can disturb that microbiome and that capability to have optimized methyl groups coming into your body. Now, of course, you could purchase a supplement that would, effectively get you over that little hurdle, and that's how to speed up recovery from some of those. But optimally, of course, you want to, how can you improve your lifestyle, your breathing technique, your hydration, your, nutrition, all of your movement, all of those gentle things, getting your parasympathetics right, all of that obviously would negate you needing to necessarily supplement. The downside, of course, is that many of us don't do that. We are not some monk on a hillside doing the perfect ideal, that side of things. And I'll be the first to confess, I've had a drink or two. Okay. I occasionally have a bit of junk food. I too had a dreaded pig in blanket along with my Christmas dinner. Was it an ideal chipolata in there? Possibly not. Okay. But, some people would say that's processed food. That's a bit too much. Did I have a lot of rich cheese and mince pies? Yes, I reached for a mince pie. I dared to have 1 or 2 or 6.
Millions of them.
So we do transgress. So, of course, we can always look to the things that would help us. And that's fine. Knowing what can help us is the next step. And that's why I really love going in with Rowan and talking about what they're doing on the human functional medicine side and looking at that detox and how to improve our nutrient uptake and bringing that to animal patients.
Bren, have you got any stats on how many people who actually come to you initially or start with this testing process? How many of them, A, have a good functional biome, and B, how many have a good functional diet? I would wager that it's probably pretty low, kind of 10% of each.
So I am
near where they should
I am
be.
amazed.
Yeah.
There are some results which are like, wow, you have just got all of the ticks in the right boxes. With whatever you've done. And some of them, it's because they're taking remedies or they're taking other things to influence their health already. Some of them, but I mean, you just need to look at the amount of poor health influence out there. Just look at obesity rates. I mean, that just says it all in Western culture, especially in the UK and over in the States. I guess to a degree in Ireland, I don't know. I consider the Irish to be healthier, but I don't know whether they're
a couple of percentage points. That's all the difference. It's nothing.
Right. So I think that says it all, Nick. That actually you're right. We all have been dragged in a direction, and it's almost commonplace. I have friends and family that constantly will talk about what's happening with their gut issues, what's happening with their own weight issues, what's happening with their cancer predisposition, what's happening with their hormonal health, the perimenopause, what's happening with, fertility, if they're trying to have a child, all of those, and just not joining up the dots to even think about the influence of all of those tubs of chocolates, the candy, the processed foods, the pizzas, the burgers, all of the rancid fats and cooking oils and things like that that's going on out there. They just, it's almost
because you don't see it. That's
but
like
everybody's eating that, so it can't be.
Yeah, but you couldn't see. You feel fine well, you don't. You feel terrible after McDonald's, but you feel fine enough after a mince pie that you don't think about that down the way. This is my problem I have with these tests. I just checked the rate of obesity in Ireland: 23% bang on, 25.9 in the UK. So here's my problem with the test is if I was to measure myself, let's say the Zoe test, which a pal of ours just did there recently, and she wasn't at the absolute peak of health when she did the Zoe test, and a Zoe test involves, we can hear feedback there from Nick if you're watching that on Facebook.
I don't think it was Nick.
No, okay.
Sorry.
Okay. But so with the Zoe test, it's going to be a fecal analysis, and they're going to look at your biome and they're going to see what shape it's in. And so when people start off with Zoe, which is a kind of a nutritional way to feed your biome and get yourself back to health, one part of the jigsaw, you'd say. But the problem is when people start off on Zoe, they're usually not in the best place, as Nick was highlighting. So you're coming at it from not a good start. And this is why somebody was saying recently that don't do biome tests in gut-sick dogs. It's like the biome is going to be Trina Kayla, as they say in Irish. It's going to be all over the place. And so let's get the poo stabilized first and see where he is in 3 or 4 days, and then do a sample. Far more realistic to see what's going on there. But like, so if you take a sample of me now after this Christmas I'm after having, which I was not good to myself, and I am, this is it now. I'm off all sugar and drink as of this is day 2 of it, and I'm fit to kill. In fact, check out my new light. Look what I can do. This is how I'm feeling at the moment. sometimes
a little like blue.
So it depends. I'm going orange because that's what people expect. But so here's my point is, I want to do all these tests, okay? But I feel like I need to get myself back in some sort of shape before I look at my gut flora, which I know is going to be screaming for sugar at the moment because I've been feeding it huge amounts of sugar. So I have grown a gut flora that's screaming for sugar. And if I do a Zoe test now, they're going to say, your gut flora is a state. By the time I get those results back, I would have done 2 weeks on a serious health buzz. I would be a different human on the inside out. So with the hormone test, is it the same thing? How accurate, has there been any sort of comparative works to say, yeah, listen, we've got 100,000 people's wee samples for hormones, and it's a pretty accurate result of their disease status in a year or 5 years, or you know what I mean? How accurate are these tests if I'm doing them?
Yeah, look, there's some great resources. You can go on and see the videos on the Precision Analytical's website, okay, for the Dutch. If you just type in Dutch, there's some great video resources. There's some great stats and stuff on there to show just how many. I mean, they're into hundreds of thousands of tests down the line now looking at that. So this is not something that's pissing in the wind. This is, I'm trying to think of all of the urinary.
You missed the blotting paper, friend. If you
don't be in the wind.
This is all of those things that, actually, how long has it been going? I think it's probably getting on for 10 years that the Dutch test has been around. So yeah, in the early days, it probably was fairly on the edge of what people were thinking, how accurate is this? But they're quite down the line now. And this is why I'm really interested to see how much we can draw that in for our dogs, especially for the entire ones, and then how much we can draw that in when it comes to looking at our neutered dogs, because that's the next influence that we can look at, because there's other things that are going on in those circumstances. And then it also gives us an opportunity where we supplement. Are we affecting an appropriate change on their hormone levels? So are we accurate? So there's like testosterone replacement is becoming a bit of a thing. There's a clinic in the UK. There is a few in the US that are talking about that's the way to get away from this LH escape that we've been talking about in the stuff about neutering a few weeks back. And, is it right to do this? But just as with hormone replacement therapy in humans, that element of, is it just slap on a patch and hope? Or are you, for your metabolism, getting that hormone level right? Okay, because it isn't, one woman's level of testosterone is not going to be the same as another's. Moving on to their conversion into estrogens and then into progestogens, it's not the same, for each and every one, and that depends on your metabolism. So you need to work out how you can individualize that more, and that's the beauty of this test, is it showing you the metabolites. They can actually trace back up the path how you're producing that, and how you can therefore go to influence it and to monitor that you're influencing it correctly.
And this is just a Dutch test we're still talking about. So would you recommend repetitive Dutch testing, like and taking action? For 2 weeks?
There are some follow-on tests, and they give you the because obviously for a woman in cycle, you're going to be doing that not in 2 weeks, because that would put you in the wrong point of the cycle, but at the same point in your cycle each time. Okay, right. You look at where that would be. Okay, especially in perimenopause. Okay, which is really hard to determine, unlike the postmenopausal stages, which is then still a way of how do you create that pattern, that monthly cycle, and improve them on that health, so that they're not just on a testosterone drive and really feeling great, but then all of a sudden get overwhelmed with a progesterone overload, and feel really down and put on loads of weight and all the rest of it. So it's getting that right. And that's why testing is, and the tests that are out there, just seeing, once you get, as a vet, I almost feel like I'm amongst Neanderthals when I look at what I've been doing for years, and then you suddenly look at some of these functional medicine tests that are out there, and you're just thinking, these are pinprick tests in many cases, or urine tests, or some saliva testing, and the stuff that they can get out of that, to show what we need to be doing, what we could be doing. It's just amazing. And I do feel like when I'm doing a standard profile now, a little bit almost embarrassed that my lab can only do this much to give me that information. And yes, I can give you more than you can just looking at the animal, but boy, if we could do all of this other stuff that they're doing in functional medicine, just how much more we could do.
And what's there to like? Are these Dutch tests available for pets? Can you not just do like, if my the pet's been desexed 3 or 4 years ago and I want to see what state or hormones are in?
So we could do that. It's about £300. So it's not off the scale. It's not £1,000. Many people have come to us thinking, oh my God, it's going to be £1,000, to check my fertility or to check my perimenopausal state or whatever. No, it's about £300. Okay. Yes, there's some interpretation needed on that, but yes, there's some standard blood tests that are that much at the end of the day. So of course we could do that. And it's been very tempting to do that for dogs, but just as there's 10 years of experience now, and before that there was all the experimentation to show how that influence for humans was there's an element of, we need more information. There's always more research needs to be done. And that's my next goal, is to get over the line with, we can translate some of the stuff that's done from humans, get that for our pets, but then can we get sufficient numbers to show that actually the absolute same is for our dogs as it is for us? There's a different cycle length, for example, the fertility is slightly different, all of that.
There'd be different genes. Sorry for cutting you off. Doesn't Breckett go on about these MTFKR genes? And he says, at a minimum, you guys need to check these genes and make sure they are switched on or off. So it kind of suggests that I wonder what those genes are in pets. You mightn't go for the same ones because they maybe have different little quirks. And then you've had these terrible bottlenecks with the Frenchies and boxers and a few other breeds that suffer as a result, And so they have probably all sorts of their own little individual issues that'd be unique to the breed that mightn't come as too surprising when you look at it. So is nobody looking at this yet? Tell me someone's looking at this.
Well, I would hope so. I mean, people like Nikki Kamak, I would think, in Georgia State, and that side of things would be looking at that. They're all into metabolomics, and I'm guessing that's the next, he's looking at how that, but when Precision Analytical has a lot of the information about the specific metabolites and the test, is effectively under their patent, then they've got, I guess, the majority of IP around, what those metabolites are. And so that takes a discussion with them. We need
to get you and Nikki yapping away about metabolites and testing and what I'm interested. So let's say there's people listening here and they're hating themselves after Christmas, okay? And what's the basic kind of what's the testing wise? If you wanted to maybe invest in your health, too few of us invest in our health. We wait until you get to that last little bit of your health when you start getting sick, and then, oh no, I'm having a few wobbles, and you start investing in your health. And we don't do it enough when we're healthy. What would be the very basic stuff from your limited amount of stuff that you've done for the last couple of years at Rowan? Okay. What's leaping off the pages? If I was to do anything, I would do this and this. What would you do?
Do you know what? Just knowing the influence of omega-3s. Just get your cellular health test. It's a pinprick test. So literally just like taking glucose, pinprick on the thumb, onto blotting paper, send it away, get them to check the omega-3 levels within your red cells. Okay. They can give you an indicator of how much of that is oxidized, how much of that is normal, you know, what your levels are that compared to what they should be in an optimal person or animal. Okay. And then look at a supplement to that, you know, just, and then retest. Okay, that's
will they look at omega-6s, Bren? Because obviously there's got to be a ratio, and the more omega-6, the more omega-3 you need. So where does that come in?
There is a ratio. There is a ratio, but what they're doing is looking at how your cellular health looks, and then if you supplement with the omega-3s after the changeover. So red cells take 123 days, so approximately 4 months, to totally recycle, to go from, you know, so after 123 days, you should have totally replaced all of your blood cells because they roughly last that length. So that's why the test length is 4 months down the line, because then if you're retesting having had the supplement, you can truly see the influence of that level for you as an individual. Because your requirement, your ratio, although a lot of functional medicine practitioners will talk about a 3-to-1 ratio, now of omega-6s to omega-3s, rather than the 10-to-1 or even the 30-to-1 that's allowable under some legislations. I think that actually that 3-to-1 ratio for you, Nick, may be spot on and ideal, but for me may not. And it's then down to, well, what other dietary influences are you taking? You know, what other lifestyle choices have you made? So this is the point of, do you need to dial back a bit or do you need to dial it up a bit? Comes from repeat testing, as Connor was saying, you know, seeing the progress of what's going on rather than just taking one pinprick, taking a supplement, taking a follow-on and then saying, that's me for life.
But what are you actually testing? Are you looking at oxidative products?
You're looking
and then the influence of omega-3s on those oxidation products.
No, you're looking at the omega-3s in the cellular walls of your red cells.
Okay, got you. And so
how do I get this?
If they're low, you try and bump them up, and if they're excessive, you take them down a notch. But if you look at the work of Dr. Chris Kenobe, which I think we've all three of us looked at his stuff. Connor, you definitely have. Yeah, I know he was looking at tribes in Papua New Guinea and the Maasai and all these kind of things. And he was saying that basically the ideal is something like for your fatty acids, ideally you should be at about, off the top of my head, about 1.5% omega-6, and the omega-3 should be about a 3-ish to 1 ratio down from that. So for every 3 omega-6s, you want to have about 1 omega-3. Okay, but the thing is, and he was saying something like the standard American diet, rather than being 1.5% omega-3, omega-6, pro-inflammatory omega-6, it's more like 22% omega-6.
And the worst
with some of the plant fats, absolutely. You know, with the influence that we have with adding oils to our food. Look, you know, Connor asked for, look, if we had to simplify and add one test, you know, what would that be?
What else?
I think
give me 2 more.
That's the one. So I think definitely
where do I get that? Sorry for cutting you off, because these questions. I'm actually asking more for myself here. But like with the omega-3, am I going to get that kit sent out to me and get, like, do I have to involve the local GP in taking any pinprick tests? Are the pinprick tests done at home and posted back to the company? I love those sort of tests. Okay, cool. So omega-3, that's number 1. Give me 2 more.
So I would say definitely when you're then looking at your vitamin D level, that can be a massive influence. And I did this a little while back. I think I shared it with you guys. Got some bloods done myself before looking at all of this. And it's one of those things, you know, I advise people for their pets so often to consider at least getting normals of where they're at when they feel relatively healthy. And, you know, I just thought, do you know what? About a year ago now, just slightly over, I needed to do that for myself, just to see what was going on, and just looking at some of those results. And it was quite, I was quite satisfied with some of those results. I'd just come off the back of a shoulder injury. I was thinking, which took some time to heal, but I managed to speed it up with other treatments. And I was thinking, well, what else do I need to be looking out for? Obviously I'm not as young and fit as I think I am. So I, wanted to take that test, and it was great to just look at liver function, look at kidney function, look at, what my cell counts were doing, look at those. As a baseline, that's great to get in if you can find somewhere to do it. But it could, to look at some of those hormone levels on a blood test level, to look at your vitamin Ds, you're looking in the region of about 400 to 500 pounds, okay, to do that. And that's probably given me a level of looking at doing things. There are vitamin D tests now for literally £50, okay? So you compare that up to the cellular health. They are as good as the blood test that we send off to the lab.
And are they a pinprick test, or are they a full blood test? Because I hate needles. Literally, I kid you not.
Mate,
I hate needles.
I tell you what, I bet that hates needles. That's brilliant. I tell you what, when I come past, what we'll do is we'll put some Emla cream on it. I'll get Connor to sit on your head, and then we'll draw some blood. Anyway, it's just
I'll stay still.
Videos. That'd be a great video. Just do that live. Just give a pint of blood live.
No, I tell you what. When I was a kid, I had teeth out.
We should go.
Yeah, I had a crowded mouth, and they were going fishing around in the vein to get the probably what would it be? Just a single bolus of thio. What was it? What's the stuff that we don't use anymore?
Thiopentone.
Thiopentone. What?
Thiopentone is the barbiturate anesthetic.
No, was it?
You can't be meaning that.
What do we? What in the old days? What do we use to induce anesthesia?
Yeah,
I haven't done it for 20 years, guys.
That's a barbiturate. That's more than 20 years ago. That's like 30 years ago.
Thio? No, but what was it? Was it called Thio? Yeah. I mean, propofol, obviously, and what have you.
Yeah, that's since then.
Yes. Okay, so it went Thio, and then so they were trying to jab me with Thio, I think, because in the old days, that's what they used to do to take teeth out of kids. They do it in the surgery, not even in the doctor's surgery, in the chair, in the dentist. Like, right, we're going to fill you up with this. You're going to go somewhere near death.
Thiopental.
Thiopental. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
and I think they were fishing around with that, and I've been completely traumatized ever since.
No way. Wow.
I got the gas when I was a child for my milk
Didn't
teeth.
have gas,
When they started removing milk teeth and things like that, when you were, if they were stuck, and they used to gas you with ether and nitrous
I took
oxide.
loads of that when Elaine was pregnant. It was great. Just having a baby. I hooped a
not ether, just
nitrous oxide.
Just a nitrous
oxide. It was a good hit off it. I was happy enough for a few moments, and then just bang back into reality.
Kids, do not listen to this man.
Yeah,
you should not be taking.
Don't try this at home, kids.
If it's okay for pregnant people, it's bloody okay for the terrified husband in the corner eating a tuna sandwich. They said, of all things, lads, whatever you do, don't come in eating a tuna sandwich. I went down to the cafeteria, I totally forgot, and all Elaine can remember from the first baby, pretty tough birth, long process, and all she can remember is me sitting in the corner eating a tuna sandwich, and it's just stank. I thought, oh my god, the one thing I wasn't supposed to eat, a tuna sandwich, and everyone trying to work away, and I'm just munching on a tuna sandwich.
That's hilarious. I'll tell you what I did for Ellie. She had a home birth, right? And I thought, okay, these poor midwives. We kicked off at about 7 p.m. with Arthur. And I thought, these poor midwives, they're going to be arriving here. They're going to be here between 2 hours and 10 hours or something.
You not need a sandwich.
I'll cook them some sausages. We're in this kind of bed seat. It's like a single room. So the entire amazing, beautiful process had this waft of roasted baked sausages.
Lovely.
For the entire
you want to give birth.
And nobody ate. They didn't eat them. I didn't eat them. Ellie didn't eat them. Arthur wasn't that keen.
Yeah,
What?
that's it.
We had these 20,000 sausages the next morning.
You just got to do something. It's such a typical man thing. I'm going to cook some food. I'll go get food. The hunter returns, and now I'm going to set a fire. And now I feel like I'm doing something. Yeah, guys, I have some more kind of very basic tips, right? So I'm going to get off sugar, and it's a pure chop because I'm an absolute addict, and everybody is. The more sugar you give yourself over Christmas, which is anything from just white foods to the sugar in your mince pies to the drink that you had, it's all sugar, and it all creates a biome screaming for sugar. So that's sweet tooth that you think is genetic or that you think runs in the family. You're just a pure addict for sugar. Chop, like the way you give up anything that's really bad for you. You got to get off the sugar. There's no easy way. And I'm also giving up the drink at the same time. So
Brady, I've been saying this for the last 3 years, and I'm
a short window. We're not talking about
nothing but grief from this lot.
Yeah,
I
think we could challenge ourselves, Nick. I just need to get to February 8th. Okay, so I'm just going thinking, okay, I could surely to God I can do 5 weeks, like clean and whatnot. Considering the position
dry
we're
January.
in, and we're giving this
advice. You're going to do dry January.
No, 100% I'll do the January. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, so February, I'm going away for a couple of days to Portugal, and that's it's not a good one. It's going to be a bad one. So here's my couple of little cheat.
This is a little tip for you. Okay, have a chat to the barman. Get him to get you some of the alcohol-free gin.
What's the point?
And when you go to the bar and ask for gin and tonic, okay, he serves all of your mates normal gin and tonic.
It's not a bad idea.
You sure you get your special gin and tonic, which has no alcohol.
Or Guinness Zero is apparently very good. I haven't tried it yet.
It's not bad. Yeah, it's not bad. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Like, listen, I don't drink enough Guinness to know what the difference would be. Nobody could tell you the difference in Guinness Zero or not. It's fine. But anyway, I'm gonna have to go cold turkey. So here's a couple of my falling points for anybody. This might seem painfully obvious to most, but I work late at night. Okay, so this is a habit that I need to stop. I'm working too much. I'm working during the day. Obviously, get the kids to bed, and then I will work at night if Elaine doesn't demand. I sit down and watch TV with her about something, and I work till 8 or 8. I'll start at say 8, half 8, whenever the last kid goes to bed, and then I'll be there till about half 11. And my problem is, I'm working hard at night time. I do my best focus at night time. I come down at half 11 and I'm like a demon then, and I'm rooting around the cupboards and I'm looking for something to eat. And so I eat late at night, and that's a big problem for me. It's a big problem for your metabolism. Your liver does not like that. Yeah. And it's great for putting on weight. So I want to get a bit healthy. And so I need to stop eating late at night. So I need to start getting to bed early. It's such an obvious tip. So stick religiously to this 8-hour feeding window so I can skip breakfast easy peasy. I do not want breakfast. Rarely ever do I want breakfast. And so I'll eat a decent lunch. I'll eat a dinner, and I need to get to bed early. So like that's a real simple tip. So that's step one. I'm going to chop out my crap food, anything processed. So you can have a few potatoes, but you can't have pasta. You can't have anything that comes in a packet, okay? So if you can just avoid the processed food, you're going to be doing great. Pasta sauce, all that crap has to go. Bin the crackers, eat the cheese, okay? Cheese is fine. The crackers are causing you damage. So all that, you've heard us saying that enough. So get the diet right, cut out the sugar, get to bed early to stop eating late. Last little tip, okay? I don't know what you guys are going to think of this. But all the lecturing we tell people to do and eat these little green things. I like this one tip on the Zoe test. I'm not recommending this brand, by the way.
Just change your mirror. You've got we're backwards.
I
was changing your hands, changing the mirror.
Oh, sorry.
It's a slightly different.
No, you can't turn it upside down and think that it's gonna.
There you go. There you go.
Okay, so look. And they do. Look, I'm nothing to do with this company. It's probably an Amazon product for all I know, and I'm going to look like an absolute div. But the point is, these products, okay, make it extremely easy, okay? No one's recommending you eat big sugary smoothies because all people do is pump a load of fruit into it, and then you're just drinking. You might as well be having a can of Coke. It's the same effect. A bit more fiber in it. It's a bit better than a can of Coke. But the point is, you can make pretty healthy smoothies in the morning where it's not that nice, okay? You're getting it done, okay? So some of the reason you're going for these greens is that all the chat about, here's the ingredients, wheatgrass powder, you wish you were taking a bit of that in the morning, barley grass powder, moringa powder, chlorella. These things are the detoxers. And when we get Matt on here to talk about detoxing, those 4 are going to be spoken about because it comes from this book, Toxic and Innate. And there's great studies to show that these dark greens are really, really good for you. Okay, so you get this powder. It doesn't cost that much, delivered straight to your home, and you look at it and you say, right, there's 16 servings in that, and I am going to eat 2 of these in a month. Simple as that. I'm going to go through 2 of the month. So I got this one, and I got the gut restore because I love the sound of the ingredients in that, and it's all these other cool bits and pieces in that. So I'm going to go through these 2 tubes in the month, and it's the first thing I eat. So I'll skip breakfast. I'll get the gym done early in the morning. I enjoy that bit because I get to get into the sauna and the plunge pool. I love all that bit. And before lunchtime, I am going to eat a little drink of those. It's not easy. And I also put in a tablespoon of chia seeds, and I neck that drink before I have my main lunch. Okay. Empty stomach and the tablespoon of chia seeds. The reason being, if you can neck that, which you can, it's easy enough, particularly if you put in the ever so slightly sweeter one here, which is absolutely gross. You close your nose, you can drink it, no problem. By the time you go to eat your food half an hour later, the tablespoon of chia seeds would have done the business, and it just makes you want ever so slightly less food. And you've also got a powerhouse hit of all this cool stuff that you wish that we're putting in on the dog's diet, but we don't give ourselves ever. You know what I mean? We get all these, mushrooms and wild mushrooms, and this is amazing anti-cal lion's mane for the dog. When we don't even give this to ourselves. Seaweed. So I can put some seaweed into that. I can put the chia seeds, a little bit, pinch of good quality salt, whatever you think is cool, and make yourself drink that at 12 o'clock. 12 o'clock. They're my 3 tips. Cut out the sugar, get to bed early, get your exercise done in the morning, get your vitamin D in if you can, walk the dog early in the morning, let that sunshine hit your face. And your first thing should be a healthy smoothie. Buy 2 of these or products like this, just a magic green powder with 5 or 6 things in it. Because Zoe, the test Zoe, your man behind it, Spectre, is constantly talking about species. It's all about species richness. And the way you do it is by eating different things. But we rarely change our diet too much. So a cheaty little product has 4 or 5 different things in it. He very much approves of, because he says even a spice is an extra addition. So if you can jam in 5 or 6 of these wonder foods every day, you'll feel completely different in 2 or 3 days. I'm sure of it. You'll feel like you're making it. They're my tips.
Could I ask you there for a question? Because you guys might already do this. That's one resolution that I want to make is about meal time. Do you guys sit down to a table and eat with the family and have that family? And somebody made a comment about the French, and they get away with eating all of this stuff and still grow old. But they have so much more of a slow eating nature.
Yeah.
Not gobbling it down, to actually sit, enjoy conversation, to have a parasympathetic blast whilst eating, rather than it just being sit down, watching a high octane film, shoveling in, processed foods, TV dinner style-y, not being sat at a table. So do you already do that, or is that something you're bringing into the mix?
I aspire to it, and I've been pushing for it for the last, since Arthur was eating solids, but it rarely happens. And the family who eats together stays together, and so it's something that I would very much aspire to, but rarely get to do that, unfortunately. How about you, Brady?
Yeah, it might be. We do, but like my kids are very young, don't forget, and so that means they are running around your feet from 4 o'clock till 8 and 7, 4 till 7 or whatever. The youngest one goes to bed. So it's easier to sit down and eat food at 6 o'clock. Had Bren's question only been, do you sit down and eat food together? The answer is yes. For about maybe 2 or 3 minutes, there may be 4 people at that table, but we eat like the Simpsons. Nom 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 nom. No talking, and then 1 or 2 of them are off, and I'm just left there sitting there with Elaine in silence because you've been working hard all day, and that's kind of what. So we do manage to sit down together, but yeah, it's not quite the French meal of let's start with the starters and then go on to this. It's just
there's a lot of wisdom in that, isn't there? You have your starter, and then you sit for a minute, and then you have your main, and you sit for a minute, then you have some cheese and some fruit, and off you go. And it's not necessarily what they eat. I think with the French, it's what they don't eat. Yeah, they don't. McDonald's has only been a lot later than in the UK. I actually went to the first McDonald's in London when I was about 8 or 9. How about that for an admission?
No way.
Yeah.
No way. That's interesting.
Wow. Yeah, I had a guy in my class at school
and he sneaks one every week
American.
without Ellie knowing.
No, when I was 9 years old, and he was going on about McDonald's as if it was God's gift to children, which it probably is, and especially root beer. Do you remember that? I'm not sure whether you even get root beer these days. I wouldn't touch it.
I know what it is. Yeah,
a tiny bit.
Yeah. No soda pop in our house. That's the one thing we're doing right diet wise.
Yeah,
no,
that is really big.
Well
actually.
done.
no sugar. There's nothing. There's milk or water, and that's all there is in the house.
Water.
Yeah,
And,
water. Now.
raw milk if you can get it.
I got some raw milk. I got some raw milk in from Belfast, and I drank it. And I have to say, I was a bit disappointed. So I was like, "Oh,
keep going."
Why? Why were you disappointed? Tell me.
It's just a different taste. It's a completely different taste. Like I'm used to
creamy.
Yeah, it was creamy. It was creamy. Actually, do you know what happened was I froze it. Okay, as soon as it came in because I wasn't going to drink it straight away, and it was goat milk, and it was for the dogs, but I drank it. So it was goat milk for the dogs, which had come out of the freezer. So I don't think that's an accurate representation of what milk can be. And I necked a good glass of it anyway, and I thought, whoa.
Just a little cautionary note out there. Because there's a lot of people feeding goat's milk to their pets and to cats in particular. And there is this unpasteurized raw goat's milk. But all of the tests we do for cows to ensure they are TB free, we are not doing the same level of testing for goats, even though they can be as affected as cows. Okay. So it is just a cautionary note. Be sure about the farm that you are going to for that raw milk. There are certain areas of the country to be aware of that have a relatively high TB rate. And, that then is in the wildlife. It's in wild boar, it's in deer, it's in,
the milk.
hedgehogs,
So
mice, rats, all of that. Because it's raw, it's not pasteurized. Pasteurization was all about how to kill the TB off. So therefore, there is that risk. That's why in Cumbria, they're really strict on which farms are releasing raw milk, and how free they are from TB. And they will absolutely be on testing those farms more frequently if they're producing raw milk for general sale.
You're not allowed
Why it says not for human consumption is almost their get out. And actually, we've got to be cautious because we've heard about the few cat outbreaks. We've heard about even a kennel outbreak, down in Wiltshire at that time a few years back. They allocated it to raw foods, but actually a lot of that was possibly crossover from wildlife, but also, where some of those raw products were coming from.
I didn't think you could get TB from milk. I really thought it was just organ consumption. I didn't think it even came from the meat.
But the thing is, the whole TB thing and Pasteur coming along and offering this process whereby he kills TB is because back in the day, and we're talking maybe kind of 1850s or so, there was massive urbanization in the cities, and so they found out the cities were growing so large that they couldn't get the milk into the cities. And so what they did is they took the cows into the cities and fed them on brewers' grains and all sorts of really poor quality. And they had them, stacked up, in very poorly ventilated areas, which was a thriving breeding ground for tuberculosis. And so that's how this has, that's how it started, the requirement for pasteurizations, because everyone was getting tuberculosis because the cows were not treated well. If you've got regeneratively raised animals and they're eating fantastic pasture and they've got a good breeze going through as much as possible and they're out as much as possible, you've got the direct opposite of those poverty situations, even in the cows, let alone the people who are drinking this raw milk. So this is Joel Salatin. He says, well, actually, if you get, raw milk from well-raised cows, it's as healthy as anything else. They've had, like a dozen cases of tuberculosis in the States from raw milk, and therefore the FDA go, oh, we're going to close it down. Actually, 12 cases versus 250,000 people being killed by all sorts of things.
I feel free to say I'm a naysayer. I would absolutely agree. I was putting a cautionary note in that, as with all our foods, choose carefully. That's all I would say.
Choose wisely.
Hard for us to know. It's hard for us to know as a consumer who knows nothing about goats. It's very hard for us to know. I mean, you're not going to tell from a label of raw milk whether that farm has done its due diligence. There's no way. There's not that stuff is not.
I think ideally you get it from a farmer who you know. That's Joel Salatin. You know him, because then it's in his interest to not poison you,
keep you alive.
Yeah.
Speaking of outdoor reared and organic and whatnot, did you see? There's a famous enough pet food company in the US. It's called Solutions, and the lady came from another pet food company. I can't remember her name, but I know there's going to be a few Americans listening tonight expecting me to say this. But I put up a post today saying this company in Colorado got a slap on the wrist. And they said that the FDA, in all their wisdom, although this is a state legislation type thing, but probably FDA / AFCO led, because AFCO is actually a branch of the FDA. Well, it's not really. The NRC was. Anyway, but they came in, the Colorado state, and they slapped them on the wrist and said, you're not allowed to talk about the health benefits of your product or share studies that may mislead the public. And so they had studies of raw dog food and the benefits of outdoor reared animals and whatnot. And if you go to the Solutions Pet Food website now, you'd see across the top of it saying, we are now no longer allowed to discuss science or share scientific literature. So I posted this up. I've been sitting on it for about a week because I just didn't want to deal with it over Christmas. And then I just shared this just to see if I could get some opinions from folk over in the States. And you can see the opinions on it. They just said, it's not just Colorado. There's a number of states where they're cracking down on anybody in the natural side of things, trying to say, here's an interesting study that shows raw-fed dogs are less inflamed than dry-fed dogs, or whatever study they shared. Now, there was a tiny kind of chance that maybe it was the language they used around the study and inferred something upon the product they were making when the study wasn't about their product. Who knows what it was? But they are definitely not alone. You can see a number of people in the US are under the kibosh now that if you're trying to sell pasture-reared, organic kind of meat, you have to be allowed to talk about the benefits of that, because the price tag is going to be 2 or 3 times what this CAFO horrible concentration camp beef is. And so now they're not allowed to talk about those benefits. So how are you going to be able to charge 2 or 3 times more for your product when that you need to? And I just thought, wow.
How can a government organization limit your ability to talk about science?
Honest science. I'll tell you what. Truth is the first casualty of war, my friends.
Indeed. I mean, perhaps we're at war, but so they I don't know if it's the FDA who do set the rules, or AFCO don't set it. People were saying it was AFCO. It's like, well, no, AFCO can't. They are not regulators, and they've no teeth. They're not law. You're never going to be in court with AFCO. They're just a group of pet food companies that make up some rules, and you don't have to stick to them, but your stateside people will then look at what AFCO say and go, these are the rules for the state. And so apparently word on the street is that AFCO said, hey guys, we don't think it's really in our interest that people go around sharing studies that don't make dry pet food or whatever product does not look too good. And I just thought, that was a bit of darkness. So I just thought I'd start off the year with some glum, dark foreboding. I was like, right, guys, game face is on. Let's get straight back into it. But so pasture-raised meat under the kibosh over in the US. And I'm not surprised, really. More than 90% of their beef comes from CAFOs. And I think it's have you ever seen the price of the outdoor reared meat over in the US? When you're talking to the US clients, they can barely source it. Like I've been talking to Texans who can't get outdoor reared beef, and it's like, you produce more beef than anyone else in the entire world. What do you mean you can't find pasture reared beef in your supermarket? So it's I'm sure they're not looking in the right supermarkets. America has enormous amounts of outdoor reared beef, but very worrying that. But anyway, look, let's not end on the bad note.
You do wonder. Yeah, look,
gents, what are we going to do next week? I'm going to have to run to go and see my family, because it's FIFA is at school tomorrow. So
very good. Let's go prepare
aiming
for that.
For an early night.
Yeah. Okay. We will skip
nutrient?
Patreon.
Well, we've got a nutrient, have we? Yeah.
Have we got a nutrient? Well, I was thinking TB. Should we do a really deep dive on TB?
I don't know anything about TB. Yeah, let's learn about TB.
Ooh, okay.
Is it a nutrient? Mycobacterium tuberculate. There may be others. Are there others?
Well, let's learn about it because
mycobacteria. Mycobacteria. How cool.
Yeah.
Oh,
you want to do mycobacteria? Let's do mycobacteria.
Okay, just
we'll throw the cat amongst the pigeons.
Aren't they all micro? Aren't all bacteria micro? Okay.
No, myco, because they look like fungi when they grow on a petri dish.
Yeah,
mycobacteria.
Interesting.
I seem to remember from somewhere.
Cool.
Amazing. Great, guys. Good to see you, and fantastic to see everybody else. I've missed you guys and everybody. And it's great to be back in the saddle, really, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Isn't it?
Can't beat it.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
Yep.
Brilliant.
All right, so
take care, guys.
Talk to you soon. See you
soon.